back to Barnstable this morning, just about 10 minutes past the top of the hour. On this Tuesday morning, I'm Sarah Colvin, and joining me live on the phone, I welcome our Chief of Police at Paul MacDonald. Chief, good morning.
Good morning, Sarah.
How are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. So, Chief, a number of things to talk about today. Getting word this morning about an incident that occurred with a hunter and a civilian. Tell me a little bit about this incident, Chief.
Last night, just before 5 o'clock, we responded to the area of Mary Dunn Road, Independence Park, down by the Hyannis watershed. A passing motorist stated that they heard what they thought was a gunshot, and they observed an individual stagger out of the woods as though he was just shot. Multiple units responded. The subject was located on the side of the road, with a second subject who was providing first aid to him. When we talked to the victim, he stated he was in a wooded area about 75 yards east of Independence Drive, and just running through a wooded path that he runs quite frequently with his dog. When he heard what he sounded to be a gunshot, and a second gunshot, and the second one is the one that hit him in his left hand, and another gunshot that hit him in his lower neck, upper back area.
Ouch. So what do we know about the hunter? I understand there are some charges that say he may not have had a license. Tell me a
Correct.
little bit about
the second subject who was rendering first aid was the hunter. The subject was identified as Christopher Hoole of Masters Mills. He was out in the woods with several other hunters. It is deer hunting season, I believe, until the 13th. However, Mr. Hoole did not have a license, did not have a hunter's license, neither did he have a license for a firearm. He was subsequently arrested for multiple charges: unlawful possession of ammunition, carrying a firearm, dangerous weapon, unlawful possession of a firearm, and careless or recklessness causing injury with the use of a firearm. He's currently being held at the PD and $5,000 cash bail. The victim was transported to Cape Cod Hospital, and there's non-life-threatening injuries.
Indeed, and we're really, thankfully, Chief, we don't see a lot of incidents like this occur. I think, normally when we deal with hunters, they're licensed and they're wearing protective gear and they're, keeping an eye out for people running through the woods. But I just talked with our natural resource supervisor last week about the fact that it is hunting season, right. And when you are out there, whether you're walking your dog or you're jogging or whatever, you do need to keep an eye out for potential gunfire.
Absolutely, especially during this time of year, we have a lot of conservation land in the town, a lot of watershed property, and these are prime areas for the hunters. But like you said earlier, usually we have very, very few problems with the hunters.
Indeed, and we know that the person who did fire the gun was not licensed, but is that a place in which hunting is legally allowed here in the town of Barnstable?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That is a legal area to hunt, and there are multiple other hunters in the area.
Great. Chief, moving on, kind of in another unusual story that we heard over the weekend, and that was the raid of some illegal massage parlors here in Barnstable. Tell me a little bit about this unusual story, Chief.
Well, we have identified 4 massage parlors / spas, across the town. There was one on South Street, one on Main Street, one on Route 132, and the fourth one was on Route 28, Windmill Plaza, out in Cotuit. They've been in operation for several months. We have received several complaints regarding them, and we strategized for quite some time, to kind of come up with a plan on how we're going to address this issue, because basically, the businesses are just fronts for organized prostitution, and this was an effort on our part to push the prostitution part of it out of the town of Barnstable. The plan was we met up with several different state agencies: State Division of Professional Licenses, State Department of Industrial Accidents, the Hyannis Fire Department, ICE, then Homeland Security, the Division of Investigative Services, because they were concerned about the human trafficking. We do know most of the individuals in the spa providing the services come from New York. They come from China, and they funnel through Flushing, New York, and then they end up down here in southeastern Massachusetts. So the plan was we all went out there on Friday for inspectional services. The Barnstable Health Department Regulatory Services, they were a huge help to us. 3 of the 4 of the businesses eventually were boarded up and they were shut down completely, and multiple violations were issued to them. This is a far more effective way to doing it than try to go in there and charge someone with prostitution, because the prostitution comes with maybe a $50 or $100 fine. They pay the fine, they look at that as part of doing businesses, and then they're right back in the business again. So this was an effective way to we pretty much put them out of businesses. And right now, while we have a couple of mock cruises assigned to each one of the establishments, keep an eye on them and make sure they do not reopen.
Indeed, and one of the interesting things, Chief, that I saw as I was reading the article in the Cape Cod Times over the weekend is, that in terms of licensing for massage parlors, obviously, a traditional regular massage parlor or masseuse needs a license to operate, needs that business license, but there's somewhat of a loophole when it comes to so-called Asian bodywork,
Correct.
Reiki, etc. Can you talk to me a little bit about that and the concerns that, from the police department's perspective about
Right.
that licensing loophole?
Well, it's a licensing loophole. I can't talk much about it because I don't know much about it, but we learned a lot in the last couple of weeks from planning this, and that's why we brought the State Division of Professional Licenses down there in the State Department of Industrial Access, because they're the ones that can actually write the violation for that particular violation. For a massage parlor, you do have to have license, but for Asian Body Works, I'm not sure what the difference is. You don't need a license, and that's probably just a loophole in the state that probably has to be addressed. But I really don't know how widespread this problem is. But as we looked at it, we know we're not the only community being affected by this. We know there are multiple other massage parlors across southeastern Massachusetts, all being run by this Asian group out of Flushing, New York.
Wonderful. Well, good work, Chief, by you and the coordinated efforts to try and get these businesses out of our town. As we look past through the past week, Chief, anything significant other than those two rather significant events?
Well, there's been a couple of major events too. We had an individual arrested for kidnapping, attempted rape. He met this woman online, was able to convince her to come to his house. Once there at the house, would not let her leave. Was trying to forcibly have her have sex with him, and he was subsequently arrested. He's been held in $10,000 cash bail. So it's been a busy week for us.
Indeed. Well, Chief, again, I thank you so much as always for joining us on the program and providing the update. We will talk with you again next Tuesday morning. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Chief of Police Paul MacDonald joining us as he does each and every Tuesday morning. Always something interesting going on over there at BPD. Coming up now is